There are times in life when everything feels like it's moving in slow motion. Your dreams seem just out of reach, progress feels like a distant illusion, and every step forward is followed by 2 steps back. In those moments, it's easy to question yourself, your purpose, and the timing of everything you've worked so hard for. You start to wonder if the delay is a sign that you're not good enough, smart enough, or destined to succeed. But this is where the truth often gets missed. The delay isn't punishment. It's preparation. The waiting period is not meant to break you, but to build you. It is there in the quiet moments of pause where the real transformation happens. When you're in a season of delay, it can feel like a void. You may look around and see others achieving milestones, receiving recognition, or enjoying the results you crave for yourself. It may even feel like life is playing favorites. But what you don't always see is the internal development happening within you. During that time, you are being refined. You are being readied for something bigger than what you currently understand. If you were handed everything you wanted right now, without the necessary preparation, it could do more harm than good. It could overwhelm you, crush your confidence, or expose the weaknesses you haven't yet fortified. That's the paradox of delay. It feels like stillness, but it is deeply active. Every challenge that arises during this waiting season is a test of your character. Are you going to remain committed even when no one is watching? Will you keep showing up when no results are visible? Will you continue developing your mind, your discipline, and your resilience even when you feel forgotten? These are the questions that preparation asks of you, and how you answer them in silence determines what you're ready to handle in the spotlight. Think of a seed planted deep in the soil. It spends weeks, sometimes months, buried beneath the surface where no one can see its progress. Above ground, it looks like nothing is happening, but underground, roots are forming. Stability is being created. A foundation is being laid that will one day support a thriving, fruitful plant. If someone were to dig up that seed prematurely because they believed it wasn't growing, they would destroy its potential. That's exactly what happens when we try to rush our own growth process. We undermine the purpose of the delay by seeing it as failure instead of formation. When you're in the midst of that delay, the temptation is to give up or to settle. You might feel drawn to take shortcuts or lower your standards just to feel like you're moving. But shortcuts bypass the very things you're meant to learn in this season. Growth requires tension. Strength requires resistance. You're not being delayed to frustrate you, you're being delayed to develop you. Every day that you feel unseen or unnoticed is a day your endurance is being built. Every setback is teaching you something you'll need later when you step into greater responsibility or impact. In hindsight, many people look back and realize the delays in their lives were actually the greatest gifts. They realized that if things had happened sooner, they wouldn't have been able to handle it. They would have crumbled under pressure, or misused the opportunity, or walked through the wrong doors. The waiting, though painful, protected them from destruction. It gave them space to grow into the person who could not just reach success, but sustain it. That's the power of delay. It doesn't just give you time, it gives you transformation. In the world of quick results and instant gratification, we've been conditioned to think that slow progress is no progress. But that's a dangerous lie. Some of the most powerful transformations are the ones that happen beneath the surface, the ones no one sees, the ones that look like nothing until suddenly everything changes. And when that moment comes, when your opportunity finally arrives, you'll realize that the delay was not wasted time. It was the very thing that prepared you to rise when the moment was right. So when life feels paused and you're tempted to despair, remember this: you're not being denied, you're being made ready. Success is often viewed as something external, a collection of achievements, wealth, recognition, or status. But what is commonly overlooked is that true, lasting success begins within. It is not enough to have the opportunity, the connection, or even the talent. If your inner world is not equipped to handle what your outer world delivers, the very success you seek can end up overwhelming or even destroying you. The most dangerous success is the one that arrives before you are ready to carry it. That's why internal readiness is not optional. It is essential. Preparation for success begins in the unseen places. It happens in your mindset, in your emotional stability, in the way you think, react, and recover. It's forged through discipline, failure, humility, and reflection. These are not glamorous traits. They are not praised in social media posts or celebrated in grand ceremonies, but they are the quiet builders of greatness. The world often admires the visible peak of a person's success without realizing that the majority of their strength was built in silence, far away from attention long before they were ever acknowledged. When a person reaches a new level of achievement without the corresponding level of self-control, clarity, or emotional maturity, they become a victim of their own acceleration. They rise too fast and fall just as quickly. This is why many people win the lottery and lose it all, or why someone gets their dream role and falls apart under pressure. It's not because they didn't want it, it's because they weren't truly ready for it. Inner readiness is the foundation that sustains external growth. Readiness is not about perfection, it's about alignment. It's about being grounded in your values, clear in your purpose, and disciplined in your habits. It's the understanding that who you are when no one is watching determines how long you'll last when everyone is. You can fake confidence in public, but you can't fake integrity in the dark. True success doesn't just ask what you've accomplished. It asks what kind of person you've become in the process. That's why delay is often a blessing in disguise. It gives you time to become the kind of person who can thrive at the next level. You learn how to handle rejection without bitterness, how to keep showing up without applause, how to think critically under pressure, and how to stay humble even as you grow. These lessons don't happen overnight. They are earned through experience, often during seasons where nothing seems to be happening on the outside, but everything is shifting on the inside. There is a difference between being capable and being ready. Capability is potential. It's what you could do. Readiness is preparation. It's what you are equipped to do consistently and wisely. Many people have the capability to succeed, but very few develop the character to sustain it. That's why so many dreams die, not because the dream was wrong, but because the dreamer skipped the process of becoming who they needed to be. Your internal world sets the boundaries for your external impact. If your mind is undisciplined, your emotions unstable, or your identity tied to validation, success will amplify your dysfunction instead of your purpose. The more you grow, the more pressure you face. And pressure doesn't create cracks, it reveals them. So every day you spend developing your mindset, practicing gratitude, setting boundaries, and investing in personal growth, you are reinforcing your foundation. You are saying to the world, I'm not just capable, I'm becoming ready. The delay between your effort and your breakthrough is not dead space, it's sacred space. It's the training ground where your future self is being shaped. It's where you learn to think beyond instant gratification and embrace the power of delayed rewards. It's where you learn to lead yourself before you try to lead others. Every act of patience, every moment of reflection, every disciplined decision made in obscurity is part of building your capacity to handle what's ahead. When you begin to understand that inner readiness precedes outer results, you stop asking, when will it happen for me? And you start asking, how can I better prepare myself? That shift changes everything. You stop seeing delays as obstacles and begin to treat them as opportunities. You stop blaming the world for what hasn't arrived and start building the foundation for what's coming. Because success that comes too soon is dangerous, but success that comes to a person who is deeply prepared is unstoppable. In a world flooded with noise, endless highlight reels, and carefully curated success stories, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison. You see people winning, moving ahead, celebrating milestones, and receiving recognition while you sit in your process, wondering if you're falling behind. But the truth is, comparison is one of the most silent and destructive forces to your purpose. It doesn't just distract you, it weakens your focus, poisons your confidence, and clouds your clarity. Every time you compare your timeline to someone else's, you're silently telling yourself that your journey isn't enough, that you should be somewhere else, doing something else, living someone else's life. And that's the quickest way to forfeit your power. Your purpose is not a replica, it's original. It has a timing, a rhythm, and a design that is uniquely yours. Just because someone else is further along doesn't mean you're behind. It means their race is different. You weren't built to move at someone else's pace. You weren't created to duplicate someone else's calling. Every time you measure yourself against others, You are dishonoring your individuality and reducing your own potential to a copy of something that was never meant for you. And ironically, the very people you compare yourself to are often carrying struggles, insecurities, and private battles you'll never see. So you end up comparing your behind-the-scenes reality with someone else's edited version of success. And that's never a fair or accurate comparison. The most dangerous part of comparison is that it causes you to doubt what is already working in your life. You could be making real progress, internal growth, new habits, deeper awareness, but if it doesn't look as flashy or as fast as someone else's, you might undervalue it. This leads to abandoning the process too soon, switching paths too quickly, or changing directions based on trends instead of truth. You don't need to be the loudest. You don't need to be the fastest. You need to be true to your own alignment. The more energy you give to someone else's path, the less clarity you'll have for your own. Comparison also steals gratitude. You stop seeing the beauty in your journey. You stop appreciating how far you've come. You forget the things you once prayed for that are now in your life because you're too busy focusing on what's missing. Gratitude fuels momentum. It keeps your heart steady and your mind focused. But comparison drowns it out. It whispers that you're not enough yet, that you need more, do more, be more, when in reality, everything you need to take your next step is already within you. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is learning to celebrate others without questioning yourself. Their win is not your loss. Their progress is not your failure. When you can genuinely support someone else's success while remaining committed to your own path, you rise above the pull of insecurity and scarcity. You recognize that the world is abundant, that there's space for everyone to rise, but not at the expense of who they are. Comparison thrives on external metrics, but fulfillment thrives on internal alignment. When you stop looking sideways and start looking inward, you begin to build something sustainable, something that's rooted. You make decisions based on vision, not vanity. You stop chasing popularity and start building purpose. You stop needing to be seen and start needing to be real. And that is when your life begins to accelerate in ways you didn't even expect, because you're no longer wasting time trying to live a story that was never yours to begin with. It takes courage to run your race when everyone else is running theirs with a megaphone. It takes strength to stay in your lane, especially when progress feels slow or invisible. But that's where true power is found, not in trying to keep up, but in choosing to keep going. When you honor your own pace, you stop striving and start building. When you trust your timing, you stop panicking and start preparing. When you stop comparing, you start creating. You move from imitation to inspiration, from reaction to intention, from wandering to walking with purpose. You're not behind, you're not late, you're not lacking. You're becoming, and the moment you choose to focus on your own path, you free yourself from the illusion that someone else's journey is better. You step fully into your own story. And that's where everything starts to change. When the noise fades and the applause stops, you're left with something much deeper than performance. You're left with yourself. The silence you experience during your journey, the space between breakthroughs, is not empty. It is where the real work happens. Perseverance in silence is one of the most powerful forces a person can cultivate. It separates the momentary from the meaningful, the interested from the committed, the dreamer from the doer. Anyone can push forward when things are going well, but it takes uncommon strength to continue when there is no recognition, no reassurance, and no visible reward. It's easy to stay consistent when encouragement surrounds you. When every effort is met with praise, when people notice your growth, and when the world seems to cheer you on, momentum comes naturally. But that's not always the case. More often than not, the path to anything worthwhile is filled with long stretches of quiet. Days when it feels like no one sees your efforts. Moments when it seems like nothing you're doing is working. Times when you start to question whether continuing even matters. And yet, it is exactly in these moments that the strongest parts of your character are being built. Silence is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a test of how deeply you believe in what you're doing. Will you keep showing up when no one is watching? Will you maintain discipline when there's no audience? Will you keep giving your best when you have no idea when the payoff will come? These are the questions that shape a resilient person. Because when you learn to persevere in silence, you build a foundation that no storm can shake. You don't just talk about commitment, you embody it. People often wait for external validation to confirm that they're on the right track, but that kind of approval is fleeting. It can come and go with the trends, with opinions, with attention spans. But the validation that matters most is the one that lives within. The quiet knowing that you're growing, even when no one else sees it. The belief that your efforts are not wasted, even when the results haven't shown up yet. That kind of belief can't be taught. It's earned through experience, through those long, quiet stretches where all you have is your own inner voice telling you to keep going. Persevering through silence also teaches patience. It shows you that not every seed bears fruit immediately. Some things take time. Some growth is slow, subtle, even invisible at first. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. The delay is not the absence of progress. It's the deepening of roots. It's the strengthening of your core. The time you spend unseen is often the most powerful preparation for the moments when the spotlight eventually comes. Because if you've built your strength in the dark, you'll be ready for whatever comes in the light. Moreover, silence helps you confront your motives. When there's no one to impress and no reward to chase, you're left with the raw reason behind why you started in the first place. Do you still care about the mission? Do you still believe in your vision? If the answer is yes, then you're in alignment. If the answer is no, then the silence has done its job. It's revealed what truly matters. That kind of clarity is priceless. It refines your purpose. It strips away the need to perform and replaces it with the desire to become. One of the most important things to understand about perseverance is that it's not glamorous. It doesn't always feel inspiring. In fact, some of your most critical moments will feel dull, repetitive, and exhausting. But that's where resilience is built, not in the excitement of new beginnings or the thrill of achievement, but in the quiet middle where most people give up. If you can stay steady there, if you can keep walking when the path seems unclear, you're developing a kind of strength that will carry you further than talent or luck ever could. There's a sacredness in those silent seasons, a space where growth is happening beneath the surface, even when your outer world seems still. When you learn to endure those seasons with grace, with discipline, and with quiet confidence, you become unshakable. You no longer rely on circumstances to define your pace. You no longer chase external energy to fuel your motivation. You become the source. And that kind of perseverance isn't just powerful, it's transformational. There's a kind of greatness that doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention or require validation. It's built in the unseen, forged in the quiet, and rooted in consistency when no one is watching. That's the power of doing the work in obscurity. There's a tendency to believe that only the visible matters, that if no one sees your progress, it doesn't count. But that's a lie. Some of the most significant growth you'll ever experience happens in private, far from applause or acknowledgement. And it's there, in that space of quiet discipline, where you lay the groundwork for everything that will one day be seen. Consistency in obscurity is what builds true mastery. It's easy to start something when it's new, exciting, or promising. It's easy to commit when others are cheering you on or when the results come quickly. But what happens when the novelty wears off? When the progress plateaus? When no one is clapping for your small wins and there's no guarantee that your efforts will be rewarded anytime soon? That's when your character is tested. Because showing up once is not commitment. But showing up again and again with intention and integrity, even when no one notices, that is where mastery begins. The habits you build in silence are the ones that determine who you'll be in success. Anyone can look disciplined under the spotlight, but if that discipline wasn't forged in the dark, it won't hold when the pressure rises. True consistency isn't about performance, it's about identity. It's about becoming the kind of person who does the right thing, not for recognition, but because it's who you are. That kind of integrity can't be taught. It's developed through repetition, patience, and faith in the process. When you're consistent in obscurity, you're planting seeds every single day, trusting that what you sow will one day produce fruit, even if you can't see it yet. The world often celebrates breakthroughs, but it rarely honors the quiet persistence that leads to them. It's the daily work, the unglamorous, repetitive effort, that creates the conditions for transformation. It's waking up early to train when no one is watching. It's writing when the words don't flow. It's studying when distractions are everywhere. These moments, though small and easily overlooked, are the bricks that build greatness. They are the choices that compound over time into something remarkable. And yet many people give up during these quiet seasons. They assume that because no one is noticing their effort, it doesn't matter. They confuse visibility with value. But obscurity is not a prison, it's a classroom. It's where you learn to self-motivate. It's where you discover your internal reasons for continuing. It's where you separate your identity from your outcomes. If you can learn to love the process without the promise of immediate results, you become dangerous, not because of your speed, but because of your depth. It's also an obscurity where you develop emotional resilience. Without the noise of external opinions, you're forced to listen to your inner voice. And if that voice is full of doubt, fear, or hesitation, that's where your real work begins. You start to confront your excuses. You learn how to push past your limits. You realize that motivation fades, but discipline doesn't. The more you practice consistency in these quiet spaces, the more mentally tough you become. You stop needing permission to succeed. You stop waiting for ideal conditions. You simply keep showing up because you've made it non-negotiable. The beauty of consistency is that it's not always loud, but it's always effective. You may not see the results right away, but that doesn't mean they aren't forming. Growth is often invisible until it suddenly becomes undeniable. Just like a bamboo plant that spends years growing roots underground before it shoots up feet in weeks, your consistent effort is laying a foundation that will one day support exponential growth. But only if you don't quit during the silent phase. What's happening behind the scenes matters more than most people realize. The late nights, the lonely hours, the disciplined decisions, these are the moments that shape your future. They are the quiet builders of a life that cannot be shaken by circumstance. So, when you feel unseen, unrecognized, or unvalidated, remember this. The obscurity is not wasting your time, it's preparing your future. Keep showing up. Keep putting in the work, because when the breakthrough comes, it won't be luck. It'll be proof of your consistency. Growth doesn't always come with fireworks or announcements. It often starts beneath the surface where no one can see it, where no applause exists, and where nothing seems to change, at least not at first. Like the roots of a mighty tree that spread wide and deep before a single branch ever touches the sky, meaningful growth begins in the unseen. Delay is often not a sign that you are stuck, but that you are being rooted. Strength is being built out of sight. Patience is being developed in the silence, and faith is being tested when results are nowhere to be found. When life slows down, when doors don't open, when progress is hard to measure, it's tempting to believe that you're falling behind. But in truth, you are growing downward before you grow upward. The delay is not wasted time, it's preparation time. Every season of waiting is a season of becoming. What looks like nothing is often the foundation of everything. It's where your beliefs are solidified, your mindset is trained, and your resilience is formed. Without strong roots, any success you achieve will be shallow, fragile, and temporary. But with deep roots, you can weather any storm and still stand tall. Society celebrates speed and visibility, but nature teaches us something more profound. Growth that lasts takes time. Consider a seed planted in fertile soil. You don't see the roots immediately. You don't dig it up every day to check on it. You water it, you protect it, you trust the process. Over time, that seed takes hold of the earth below it. It's anchoring itself, preparing to grow, and ensuring that when it does rise above the surface, it will be able to endure what the elements bring. The deeper the root system, the greater the stability. The longer the season of preparation, the more powerful the bloom. This is true for your personal development, your goals, your relationships, and your dreams. You are not meant to rush through the foundation-building season. It's in this space that you're learning how to manage your emotions, stay consistent without validation, and build self-discipline without external reward. These aren't glamorous traits, but they're necessary ones, because when the time comes for your breakthrough, it will test everything that was built in the dark. And if you've done the work, if your roots are deep, you'll be able to rise without breaking. There's a sacredness in delay that most people miss. Instead of fighting the stillness, you must learn to embrace it. Stillness doesn't mean stagnation. Silence doesn't mean absence. The delay isn't passive, it's active. Every challenge during this time is preparing you for what's next. Every unanswered question is strengthening your trust. Every obstacle is teaching you how to stay grounded when things don't go as planned. You're not being punished by the delay, you're being fortified by it. There's also a deep internal shift that happens when you allow yourself to grow in obscurity. You stop performing and start becoming. You begin to detach your identity from outcomes and root it in process. You learn to measure progress by inner peace rather than public approval. That kind of rootedness makes you unshakable, because when you know who you are in the quiet, you don't have to prove yourself in the noise. This foundation phase also teaches you how to handle pressure. You begin to realize that the higher you want to rise, the deeper you must dig. The strength required to sustain success is not the same strength required to achieve it. The climb may require effort, but the endurance to stay there comes from the roots you planted long before anyone knew your name. It's not the moment you arrived that matters, it's who you became while you were waiting to arrive. So many people give up just before the roots take hold. They dig up the seed because they're tired of waiting. They walk away because they don't see instant progress. But growth doesn't happen on demand. It happens through faith, discipline, and perseverance. The greatest transformations don't happen overnight. They happen gradually, often invisibly, until one day the world takes notice. And even then, what the world sees is just the surface. The real strength is still underground, holding everything together. This is the season for digging deep, for becoming grounded in your values, anchored in your beliefs, and unwavering in your pursuit. The delay is not keeping you from your purpose. It's preparing you to carry it well. Trust that your roots are growing. Trust that something powerful is forming beneath the surface. And when the time is right, you'll rise, not because you rushed the process, but because you respected it. There's a reason some doors stay closed longer than expected. It's not because you aren't talented, capable, or worthy. It's because who you are right now might not yet be the version of you required to walk through that next level with grace, wisdom, and strength. Timing is not always about opportunity, it's about readiness. Sometimes life withholds what you desire, not to deprive you, but to shape you. You're not being denied. You're being prepared for a future that demands more of you than your present self can carry. It's a common human tendency to crave quick results. When you have a dream, a vision, or a goal, the natural instinct is to want it now. The moment you plant the seed, you expect the bloom. But growth has a pace, and evolution cannot be rushed. There's a version of you that can get the opportunity and a version of you that can keep it, and those are not always the same. That's where the work begins. The preparation phase is where you are molded into the person who doesn't just receive success, but sustains it. Without that preparation, what's meant to elevate you might actually destroy you. When doors remain shut, it's not a judgment on your value. It's a signal that your character, habits, or mindset might still be catching up to your calling. A closed door might be life's way of protecting you from situations that your current level of emotional intelligence, patience, or discipline isn't yet equipped to handle. It doesn't mean you'll never arrive. It means the arrival has requirements that cannot be skipped. And it's in that delay that you are shaped layer by layer, decision by decision, into the version of yourself who is not only capable of stepping into the opportunity, but who thrives in it. Success at any meaningful level comes with pressure. It requires clarity under stress, integrity under temptation, and stability when everything feels uncertain. If you rush into success without these internal muscles developed, you'll crumble under the weight. And that's why the delay exists. Not as a punishment, but as a protective process. Every hard lesson you learn now becomes armor for the future. Every challenge you overcome now builds a foundation for later. Life doesn't delay you to break you. It delays you to fortify you, to ensure that when the moment arrives, you don't sabotage your own potential. This preparation season also serves to filter your motives. When you're not getting what you want, when the stage is quiet and the audience is missing, you're forced to ask yourself, why am I doing this? If your answer is rooted in ego or validation, the silence will expose it. If your purpose is shallow, the delay will reveal it. But if your motive is pure, if your heart is in alignment with your vision, the delay will only sharpen your commitment. It will strengthen your discipline, deepen your gratitude, and solidify your purpose. Too many people want elevation without transformation. They want the next level without leveling up their mindset, habits, or emotional maturity. But the truth is, the opportunity you're waiting for is already waiting for you. It's just waiting for you to become the person who's truly ready to hold it. That version of you is forged in the fire of patience, resilience, and self-reflection. It's created in the repetition of good habits, in the humility to keep learning, and in the strength to keep moving even when you feel unseen. You don't have to fear the delay. You don't have to resent it. If you embrace it, you'll find that it's one of the most valuable parts of your journey. Because the you who started this path is not the same you who will complete it. And that's exactly the point. The delays are shaping you. They're asking you to become stronger, wiser, more grounded, to let go of shortcuts and step fully into transformation, to stop performing and start becoming. When you're finally handed the opportunity you prayed for, it won't be because life suddenly became fair. It will be because you became ready. So don't just wait, prepare. Don't just hope, build. Don't just wish, transform. The door will open, but who you are when it does will determine how far you go once it does. Let the delay do its work, because when it's time, you won't just step into the moment, you'll own it.